Hello and greetings to one and all. This is the Psychic Inside Show, and I am your host, Joelle. I am the Vibrarian. I am here to elevate, enlighten, and empower you with information and experiences that I hope you will find positive and uplifting. We are broadcasting on the Vibrarian Radio Network, which is part of the Blog Talk Radio family. And you can reach us this evening by calling 646-668-8988 at any time during the show. If you have a question or would like to come on the air, just press the 1 key on your phone, and it'll let me know to bring you in, and I will get to you as soon as I possibly can. We also have a Facebook community where you can join with good vibe tribes, I like to call them. You can find Facebook, and page is The Vibrarian, and that's V as in vibration, I-B-E as in energy, R-A-R-I-A-N. And in our community, we're posting all kinds of things, different articles, videos, knowledge sharing, things that are uplifting throughout your day. You've got tarot advice and wisdom and a schedule of events and classes also available. So please click on over there, like, comment, and share about the things on the page. I'm also on Instagram, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter with the same handle, at The Vibrarian. You can follow us out in the wild as we're experiencing this high vibration life that we're all aspiring to. So each week on the Psychic Inside Show, it is my pleasure and honor to get to talk with different people who have discovered that they had psychic gifts and abilities. Now, I believe that everyone is psychic, but you really just don't know sometimes that that is what you were experiencing. And so what my goal is to do is bring you stories of everyday people who are just like me and you, who have discovered something extraordinary about themselves, and to share with you those stories, because hopefully somewhere along the way, something will tickle your memory and say, you know what? I've experienced that. Maybe that is being psychic, even if you don't necessarily call it that. So every week we have the Psychic Inside Show, and you can find our continuing broadcasts uploaded to my YouTube channel. You can search for The Vibrary, just like the library, only it is a collection of videos, broadcasts, podcasts, and other content that is published out in the YouTube space. So my channel is The Vibrary. That's V-I-B-E-R-A-R-Y. I don't have a channel name yet, but as soon as I get to a certain number of subscribers, YouTube will allow me to claim my little piece of their real estate with my name. But for right now, you'll just need to search for it by name, and I do hope that you will subscribe. And I also want to let you know that we have a lot of exciting, interesting events coming up. There is a full host of events that you can go to. We've got classes that you can get your Reiki certification, astrology classes, technology classes, divination classes are in the works, and then we've got several events coming up that I'm sure we'll get to a little bit later in the broadcast this evening. So we're really on the move trying to elevate humanity, spread positivity and love. So I hope that you will join along with that. I also have a chat room that is open during the show, and you can join and ask your questions, and I'll be glad to also put you on air at that time. So after that bit of housekeeping there, I want to get into tonight's conversation. I'm so excited this evening to welcome our special guest of the evening. I only met her in person very recently, but for months we're kind of circling the universe, trying to find the right time to get together to actually face-to-face, because we had a lot of mutual friends who both of us really respected, and I knew if I was connected to this person by the mutual friends that we had, that they must really be a quality person because I really valued our mutual friend connection. So I got this message one day from a lady named Lynn Prime. So I'm welcoming you to the show this evening, Lynn Prime, and I'm just so happy to have this evening to talk with you. Welcome to the Psyche Inside show.
Thank you. I want to let you know that your audio keeps cutting in and out a little bit. So,
okay. I apologize, everyone. I am actually traveling, and so my connection is not the best because I'm on Wi-Fi. I'll tell you a little bit more. I try to go ahead and get a secondary number going so that I can call in a little more clearly. So, Kelly Lynn, we hand it over to you, and would you please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? Who is Kelly Lynn Prime?
Well, I am a former school teacher. I was a high school English teacher for 13 years. I'm from Michigan originally, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. So I did some teaching in Michigan. I did about half and half. I did about half of my teaching career in Michigan, in the Detroit metro area. And then in 2006, I said, I need a whole change of scene. I need to broaden my horizons. I'm tired of gray weather. I'm tired of snow. I'm tired of cold. So I started searching for teaching jobs out of state. And I ended up here in Atlanta because the cost of living at that time was pretty moderate and teaching salaries were pretty great. So I came down here in 2006 and I'm still here. So Atlanta has really been an integral part of my spiritual awakening. I was raised very religious, which even within my religious experiences, there was always, let's just say I had unique experiences. I was introduced to the Pentecostal denomination of Christianity when I was in high school. So I was around 16. I started going to a youth group that was Pentecostal, and I witnessed after one of the meetings, they asked if we wanted to see a laying of hands, and I said, of course I want to see that. So there was a laying of hands, and I don't even remember if it was a young man or a young woman. They immediately started speaking in tongues, and I was like, whoa, what was that? That was cool. So,
well, I was going to say, if you were Pentecostal, there was lots of singing and shouting and probably speaking of tongues and other of things.
Well, I was raised Methodist, so this was a very, very interesting departure from very charismatic. The Methodist Church is not too charismatic. It's called the Methodist Church for a reason. It's very methodical. So I had that experience, and then I did a lot of praying as a kid, and this was when I was 16 as well. I was praying in my bedroom one night, and actually it was a very interesting chain of events that happened. So I was praying in my room that night. I knelt down beside my bed I started my prayers, and I felt this sensation in my chest, which I now know to be my heart chakra. And then, so it was like my heart chakra opened, and there was this rising of energy, and my mouth started to move, and I was speaking in tongues, and I was like, whoa, that's wild. So, of course, I was really excited, and I told some of my friends the next day that were also, they went to the little youth group and stuff with me. But it was interesting because that happened, it happened right before, I believe it was the same weekend. My brother was in a drunk driving accident, and one of the passengers in the vehicle was hurt very seriously. So it happened at a time where it was a way that I knew I was connected to spirit, because it was a very emotionally trying time for my family. So pretty interesting. So that was, speaking in tongues is actually what I know now is simply channeling spirit.
Yes.
So I started channeling at 16.
That is so interesting. I hope my connection is a little clearer now. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm a Methodist preacher's child. And I remember when the tent revival, I was, my early years, I was in western Kansas. And I remember when the tent revival came up one summer, I had to have been before 4th grade. And it was a long evening service, and we were there really, really late. And there was a call-up for the kids. I was not with my parents. I was with someone else's family. There was a call-up for the kids to come to the altar. And part of it, what they did was talk about, speaking in tongues. But I remember feeling a lot of pressure, like you need to do this, because it was like I couldn't get out of the church until I performed something. It was like in that moment they wanted all the little kids to, come to Jesus, speak in tongues, do something. So I remember I was very afraid. And, when I think I probably faked it, and then I came back upstairs and my friend's parents were like, oh my God, we didn't know where you were. I was I was down there with the little kids. Y'all were supposed to come rescue me, And so for years I didn't have any other experience with that until kind of coming into more of the Black church experience and things like that, and seeing people with that. When you see it happen, it really is quite shocking if you're not used to that kind of thing. And, now, like you said, differently because you've experienced movements of and channeling, as we would call it, is quite popular right now. And you're not the first psychic I've heard say that they were speaking in tongues at an early age, and I guess they would say that they would say it was light language, which kind of is the catch-all term.
For me, it's something, once that happened, I could do it immediately. I can immediately switch into that. And it's interesting because I go to a wonderful, wonderful chiropractor. She does a type of specialized chiropractic care called network spinal analysis. Her name is Dr. Georgia Herrera. She is in Roswell. So there's my shameless plug for my wonderful chiropractor. She does a lot of shamanic work. And if I am on the table and she gets the Native American drum out, it automatically comes out of me.
And are you aware that
she beats on that drum a couple of times, and I'm shouting something. I don't know what, but something is coming through me.
So do you also then receive channeling of language that you understand as part of your gift now?
Sometimes.
And in terms of when you were teaching in like the early part of your career, so this was just a dynamic from that you were experiencing in your personal spiritual life through your church experience, but yet that time you weren't feeling like, oh, I'm a psychic. You're thinking I'm a teacher. Or were you kind of teasing around the edges?
No, I didn't. I grew up in a town of 600 people in rural Michigan, so I didn't know nothing about no daggone psychic stuff.
So it wasn't until you got to Atlanta that you started.
I mean,
how did you stumble upon it?
Of course, I had heard, in college. I remember seeing the Psychic Network on TV, Miss Cleo, and you could call in. And I remember watching which talk show was Sylvia Brown on? Was that
my
Montel?
goodness. Yeah, Montel or
Williams?
Maury or somebody she used to be on. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing Sylvia Brown and just being really fascinated with her because I felt like she was still an entertainer, but I felt like she was sharing information that was accurate for people. So
I remember that too. I think was she on Oprah? Well, maybe not Oprah, but I thought she was interesting. I think I picked up a couple of her books then too. This is probably mid-80s.
Yeah.
When I would read things about
I didn't really know anything about that, and I didn't really I wasn't really awakened to it until there's a teacher in the area. His name is Carl Woodall. He does the Anastasia method of psychic development. That's what he teaches. And there was a woman who was going through his class, and through like a friend of the guy I was dating at the time, we were recommended. She was doing practice readings, and we had readings from her, and we were like freaking blown away. She was amazing, and that's how I got introduced to kind of like that realm, that world. And of course, I had been to the Phoenix and Dragon and knew that they had, readers and things, but I don't know. I just never, it wasn't until I experienced it personally that I was like, whoa, there's something to this. And then I kind of became friends with her, and I had a few readings, and of course, part of the conversation with a psychic is exactly what you said at the beginning. Everybody's psychic. Everybody has this ability. You just have to awaken it.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, got that message from her, and in 2009, I had gone to a Tantra event. Tantra is sacred sexuality. And they were taking volunteers. They were doing like a demonstration of it. And I raised my hand. I was like, I paid $40 for this. Y'all better pick me. And of course they did. I was like, I'm going to get my money's worth out of whatever this is. I don't know what this is, but y'all better pick me. So they picked me, and it was right up there with speaking in tongues, because I felt like I was riding on ocean waves. The practitioner did energy work with me. the only place he was touching me was the center of my palm, and I was laying like on an air mattress, and he was laying beside me. He was touching the top of my foot with his toe and the center of my palm with his I believe his thumb or forefinger, and then he was just moving energy over me with his hand. And
wow.
I felt like I was riding a wave of, like a wave in the ocean. It was the wildest thing. And then I was like, afterwards, I got emotional. I cried. And after that, I was like, I don't know what that was, but whatever it is, I need to learn more about it. And so I had started going to the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta at that time too, back when Paul Gagne was the pastor, the minister there. And Dr. Joyce Reynolds came to speak one Sunday. And I don't know if any of y'all know about Joyce Reynolds. Joyce calls herself the motivator of 1 or 1,000, and she was 70-some years old then, and she's 80-some years old now, and she's still teaching law of attraction. She teaches Reiki. She teaches some psychic development. She teaches professional speakers course. She is the bomb. She's my Reiki teacher. I started going to her law of attraction classes, and she started talking about Reiki. And I was like, what is Reiki? And so next thing I know, I'm in her class and learned Reiki 1 and 2. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. You know, I'll do a little bit here and there, nothing major. And then I got a newsletter from the Spiritual Living Center, and there was a woman named Ursula Lentini, who was a spiritual practitioner at the Spiritual Living Center. She was promoting another type of energy healing called pranic healing. And so I'm kind of up on my little high horse. I sent her an email. I was like, what is pranic healing? I have learned Reiki. How is this different than Reiki? Explain to me how this is different than Reiki. I don't know what she said to me, but the next thing I know, I was sitting in pranic healing, basic pranic healing. And that pranic healing, that first pranic healing class, totally changed my life because it took what I perceived as all of the little bits of information. Okay, I've learned a little bit about law of attraction. I've learned a little bit about Reiki and chakras. I learned, it just really took all the little bits that I had been learning. It took some of the stuff from Tantra, and it just like really brought it together in like this really beautiful, it just brought it all together for me, and it just made everything make sense for me. And then I just went crazy with learning pranic healing. I've taken probably a dozen pranic healing courses, different courses. It's pretty, it's very well developed. It's very much regulated as far as the information that you're going to get when you take the different the different classes. I eventually got a Reiki master, but pranic healing is by far what I have studied the most extensively, and it's a system of building character, really.
It's interesting as you're talking because I feel a commonality with my own experience and with some of the stories that have been shared is that a lot of people just kind of are drawn to something that interests them that does not scream, I want to be a psychic. You know, it's like, well, what is this? You see somebody else doing Reiki, or you hear somebody talking about pranic healing, and then as you start to let your curiosity move you, you do wind up going from, like, interest to interest, but then the psychic part, I think, begins to flower as your brain kind
Absolutely.
of expands with this thing that you're so excited and interested in. You know, a lot of tarot readers are like, I just really like the system of tarot cards, and I didn't realize until it was about 3 or 4 years in that the messages I was getting were not from the cards, they were from spirit, you know, so it kind of sneaks in for you. So we do have a caller who has pressed to ask a question. Let me check in real quick and say, caller who is calling on Skype, did you have a question for Kelly, or were you calling for a reading?
I was calling for a reading, but I wanted to tell Kelly that my chiropractor also does network spinal analysis, although I've never seen her drum.
Well, Dr. Georgia has a background in shamanism as well, so she integrates a lot of her shamanistic and spiritual background into the way that she does her sessions. It's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, I'm going to ask my practitioner to try it.
Are you happy with your chiropractor that uses that modality?
I do. I don't fully understand it, but as I'm sure Kelly can tell you, like there's certain parts of that it's a little different than a normal treatment where they stand above you, and adjust you, and they kind of snap their fingers, and the snapping of the fingers does something. I'm not quite sure. Maybe Kelly knows.
So I can tell you a little bit more. With this method, what the doctor is doing is either there are light touches in different parts of the body. The snapping is more than likely clearing of energy. And what the doctor is doing is helping you to entrain your own nervous system to self-correct. So what network spinal analysis is entraining the body to not need a manual manipulation to correct misalignments in the spine.
Got it. I mean, I know that what's very unusual is that she can pick up whether it's mental stress or physical stress. And
your chiropractor is also probably very intuitive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I won't ask any more questions. I will wait on hold, probably like your other callers.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. We'll
awesome.
bring you back on. You'll be first in line for the reading portion, okay?
Okay.
Make sure you have a dream for me to interpret.
All right, I will.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. You see, so a lot of people, are believing that, to be psychic is to be a thing. But it's really more just to be in a state of a certain kind of awareness. And then you can do lots of different things when you're in that once you're acknowledging and understanding how that awareness works for you, you can use it while you're doing all the things that are interesting you, even if you're a teacher.
Exactly, that's exactly how it works for me. So within pranic healing, we have a very specific type of meditation called Twin Hearts meditation. Now, within Twin Hearts meditation, I would have visions. I would have visions I would see waves of colors. And this was after my first pranic healing course. I would see colors when I was meditating. I started to be able to see energy. if I look at the earth long enough, like I could see the earth breathing. I would look in the sky, and I would see the little particles of energy. Have you ever looked at the sky and you either see what looks like sparkles, or to me they look like little they look like little sperm swimming. That's what it looks like to me. Or I started to see auras on trees, and we have a lot of trees here in Atlanta. And I would be driving, and I would look at an area where there's trees, and the aura of the trees, like the energy that comes off of trees, is amazing. So I started seeing that, and then I started remembering as a kid, I would see things out the corner of my eye, and then of course when you look, there's nothing there. Mm-hmm. But that's very real. When you see something move out of the corner of your eye, there's a spiritual presence there. I also remember kind of little quirky things that I did as a little girl. As I said, we lived in the country, and when you look at car headlights at night, there's it looks like little beams of light coming off the lights. So I would watch cars going down the road at night, and I would see those little beams. And in my little childlike mind, I would grab the beams of light and I would eat them. So to me, it was like candy. So I would grab the beams of light, and I remember eating the light.
So when you were doing your Reiki and pranic healing, are you then seeing as well as sensing the aura?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Mm-hmm.
Abso-freaking-lutely. So in 2012, this is kind of the next evolution of my my spiritual awakening. In 2012, was it 2012 or 2011? I think it was 2012. I did an ayahuasca ceremony for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And that really started opening up my psychic abilities. And then by 2000, I think it was 2013 that I did the psychic development course. But for me, I don't like doing cold readings. And what that means is I do not enjoy someone saying to me, "Tell me my future," or "What am I thinking right now? You're psychic." Because it just doesn't really work like that for me. I get intuitive hits when I'm also a life coach. So when I am doing a coaching session with someone, I get intuitive hits. And what that means is Spirit is guiding me to guide the client into a direction that is going to serve them and create more healing for them. I also incorporate energy healing into my life coaching as part of my practice. So if you're a client of mine, we're not just doing coaching, we're doing coaching and energy healing. And the energy healing is where sometimes I see past life stuff. I work very closely with animal spirits. So there will be animal spirits that come through. Sometimes I will see different goddesses or angels or different ascended masters. It just really varies. Sometimes I will see different, I may see, or I actually feel a lot of what other people feel in their bodies. So, like if someone has, the heart chakra and the throat chakra are right next to each other, so they're very connected. And usually if there's something going on with one, it affects the other. So a lot of times if I feel my voice cracking or breaking up, I know immediately that there's something going on with the throat chakra or the heart chakra or both. So, yeah. So I'm an empath, and I literally feel some of what other people feel in the physical.
That can be rather challenging, huh?
You know what? I have been like this my whole life, so I don't really know any other way of being. I have become more aware of it as I have progressed in my abilities and through energy healing and whatnot. So I have actually learned how to cope with it a lot better. I used to have a really difficult time being in public places where there was a lot of people. Like Piedmont Park on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, you know, where there's wall-to-wall people just out mingling around. I would look at that and I would be like, no, not today.
Mm-hmm. Now,
but I don't have a problem anymore.
Well, you mentioned two things that I want to come back to. This is the Psychic Inside Show, and I'm your host, Joelle, the Vibrarian. I'm having a wonderful discussion with Lynn Prime about her journey into her psychic gifts and abilities. Our phone number is 646-668-8988, and you can call in to take a listen, or if you want to ask a question or later in the show to receive a reading, you can just press the 1 key and I'll bring you on. So you mentioned ayahuasca. And so for our listeners who are not, and also we'll have to back up and just talk about real quickly, what is Reiki? Let's just clear up Reiki and prana because those terms might be somewhat foreign to people. How would you describe what those are?
Well, Reiki and pranic healing are both forms of energy healing. Prana is actually a Sanskrit term for energy. So they are both modalities of energy healing, and what they do is we have our physical body, but we also have an energy body. And our physical body is actually powered by our energy body. And within our energy body, we have a central channel of energy called the Sushumna Nadi that runs right along with the spine, and it goes out the top of your head and comes out of your tailbone. So to that central channel of energy, we have spinning energy centers called chakras. Now, traditionally, most people know that there are 7 chakras. Mm-hmm. There are a lot more than 7 chakras.
Yeah.
There are 7 main chakras, but we have little whirling energy centers. We have hundreds of them. You have chakras connected to each of your eyes. You have ear chakras. You have many chakras on each of your fingertips. You have another chakra in the center of your palm. You have knee chakras. You have hip chakras. So there are chakras everywhere in the body, and that is what powers your physiology. So energy always precedes physicality. So what Reiki and pranic healing do, and they are just different modalities. slightly different ways of working with the energy, but in essence, what they are both doing is they are working in the energy body to create balance, because within our physical environment, stress, worry, anger, all of those things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, they cause imbalances in the energy body. Now, physical disease is always, always, always preceded by an energetic imbalance. So when the chakras are out of balance in a particular pattern over a long period of time, that's the cause of physical disease.
I believe that.
When you energy healing is probably the best preventive care that you can do for yourself. So within our Western model of medicine, and I am not debunking Western medicine at all, I believe that everything has its purpose in place. For instance, if you have a headache, by all means, go to the doctor, find something that will help relieve your pain, your headache, but then take it a step further and figure out what caused the headache in the first place. That's where Western medicine leaves off. They don't care about root causes.
Right.
Energy healing, if done regularly, can be a wonderful preventive care of disease.
Well, and I was going to say that people don't need to think that they're psychic in order to become an energy healer.
Not at all.
You're learning a system of each of these systems, and there are many systems of energy healing out there. I mean, even acupuncture, as you were describing the chakras everywhere, I think that coming from another tradition is more acknowledging of the energetic centers that lie around the body, and that's what they're working with when they're placing the needles in those areas to release the energy and get it flowing whenever there's a block. But I saw last year that even places like the Cancer Treatment Centers of America has started offering Reiki as their whole, integrative plan for cancer care, is that they now have it on their webpage, that Reiki and dietitian support, natural support is available to add on to your traditional chemotherapy and radiation type of things that people tend to be drawn to. And I think that's a great kind of nod to the whole idea that there is more to us than our physical body. When you hear chiropractors who are now doing this I forget what you said it was, but it's not just about adjusting. Yeah, it's not just about a network spinal analysis, right? You said analysis or adjustment? Okay. Yeah, they're not just looking at the physical form anymore. Science is starting to validate the existence of energy and its impact on health and healing. And I love that science is now actually starting to study these things in a clinical way to prove what a lot of people would say, well, I didn't need to study a double-blind study to know that prayer works for me when the church prayed for me, to know that, my Reiki healer healed my body of an injury. People don't need confirmation of that when it happens to your own physical self and in your reality,
Well,
and it's really simple.
Chronic healing, there are 8 or 9 pranic healing masters in the world. One of them is a physician. Mm-hmm. And there are other physicians who, actually one of my teachers, she is a dermatologist. And when she does surgery, she uses pranic healing on her patients. It can help control bleeding. So it's pretty it's pretty interesting.
This is a great time, because we are in a period where there is a flowering, an awakening, an expansion, and a coming forward of things that I think were just lost to time and in some cases veiled and obscured by economic systems that did not want them to be existent, And now, anyone can go.
That doesn't want us to have this. They don't want us to have this knowledge and these abilities.
And what they say, physician, heal thyself. I think that's some old Socratic or Plato or somebody, talked about that we really do have the power of life or death within ourselves. And, I started with like a Reiki level 1 just because I wanted to be able to do Reiki for myself. And I took all the other classes over a period of a few years, but I don't call myself a Reiki practitioner because I'm not doing this for a living or on people for fees. I'm basically using Reiki on myself, but I found it interesting as a learning system, which is why I went ahead and educated myself to the extent that I could, and I expect I would take a Karuna or Holy Fire or some other Reiki as well. Now, the pranic healing, that is a bit more extensive training program. How long if you look at you said you've done like 20 classes, but how long was your time period to get to?
Those classes are typically taught over a weekend, and they range anywhere from $300 to $600. So mm-hmm. I've invested money in learning what I have. However, what I do like about pranic healing different strokes for different folks. I don't feel like Reiki there's not the same consistency because there's not one central organization or kind of umbrella that's like running the learning of Reiki. With pranic healing, it's called the Pranic Healing Foundation, and it is actually run by Grandmaster Choa Koksui. He's the founder and creator of pranic healing. Master Choa left the body in 2007, and his children have continued to run this business that he created. So not only was he a spiritualist, he was a scientist, which means that he studied the energy and did hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of case studies and tested everything, and then came up with protocols of treating the different chakras to that correspond with different physical ailments in the body. Okay. So it's a system that is very specific and very well put together, and he was also a businessman. So he put together this system and took the superstition out of it and made it so that anyone could learn this. His goal was for there to be one pranic healer in every single household in the world.
Oh, wow. Well, I need to get one in my household, apparently. My household is one. Now, the other thing that I wanted to ask you about, since we're talking about education, is you mentioned going to Carl Woodall's psychic development class. And that is another thing that I've heard a common thread between different people who've been on the show. And I've taken a class myself as well. But, I'll take a class about anything. I love going to classes, especially when it's not for term papers and credit and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
If it's for life edification, I like that a lot better than a GPA at a university. I'm kind of done with that part. But so you went to an in-person class, correct, then, with Carl Woodall?
Yes.
So what was that like?
That was for 6 months. We would do one weekend a month for 6 months. It was cool. I mean, that's where you really start getting your practice and your confidence up. So
were there a lot of people in your class, or how?
I think there's a cap. I think there's a cap of 20 people. And what happens is you usually start with a full load, and then for one reason or another, there are people who they don't complete the whole thing. So usually end up with, I don't know, between like 10 and 15 that end up finishing.
And was everybody kind of at a similar place of starting out without a lot of kind of knowledge, more kind of like, let me see what's going to happen? Or were you with people who already were knowing, you know what, I'm clairvoyant and I want to work on clairvoyance?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there are some people that they're very clear on how their gifts come through. One thing for me, actually a couple of things that really were helpful for me with that is knowing that what we think is our imagination is not really our imagination. It's spirit communicating with us. So that's one. The second thing is I really got clear on, that's where I got clear on this whole empath thing, that if I'm feeling something, that I need to ask myself one question, and that one question is this mine? And if I don't get a yes, if I get a or a I know that it's not mine, and if it ain't mine, it's not my responsibility. So I can cut that energy loose, and I don't have to be concerned with it.
I think that's a lot of what happens in the first levels of psychic development, is realizing to trust what you've already been kind of working with, maybe on a gut instinct kind of way of functioning, but to start to really figure out, okay, what are my body systems? What I kind of know when I feel hinky about something or somebody, but let's examine that a little bit more and do exercises with other people who are also trying to figure out, what is this I'm feeling? What is this I'm sensing? So to me, it was fun. It was a great deal of fun to be able to play with other people without any judgments. First of all, like, oh, you got it wrong. It's like, I'm kind of getting the feeling of such and such, and then you find out you're right. And that goes a long way, because a lot of times we second guess ourselves. Yeah. Like, I didn't really see
God.
Or
okay,
coming out of trees.
This is what happens to me a lot. People don't like it when you know shit, and they don't know how you know it. So they will lie to you. Like you may say to somebody, your energy feels kind of blah 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 today. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know why you're saying that, because I feel blah 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 today. Because they don't want to admit to you that you were right about how they're feeling. They're like, you don't know me.
Right.
But then that is something that, and then we take that back in as a reader, and it creates doubt in the information that we get. That happened to me, like looking back, that happened to me so many times as a young person. I'd be like, well, you're blah, blah, I'm feeling that you're da-da-da-da-da today. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're not.
Right.
But I will be right.
Right. Well, for me, it's a little kind of voice that tells me, you should take 166 instead of getting on 285. And sometimes I'll just blow through that, like, well, no, never mind. I'll just get on my usual. I don't know where that came from.
Yes.
At one point. That's how it would be. And then I'm stuck in an hour traffic jam right past the exit to 166, and I'm like, you should have listened to your intuition. So going to the development
that's your
class.
internal GPS. That happens to me all the time in Atlanta traffic. I'm not kidding you. I am. And see, here's another thing. I had no idea that I was quote unquote clairvoyant. Because I'm thinking, if I'm not seeing things like in the physical, I'm not clairvoyant. I see things in my mind. I see them in my mind's eye. That's being clairvoyant.
Yes, a lot of people.
I get visions of routes and things all the time, and I will measure energy as well. I'll be like, okay, 285 or 85, and I will physically feel the energy.
Well, I need that. Everybody
whatever has the stronger energy for me, I'm like, okay, that's the one. I'm going that way. Right.
See, again, everyone is psychic. You just don't realize it. So, it's understanding that there's that GPS, a higher guidance system that you can connect to that is not driven by logic and reason of your egoic framework, that is going to be operating through your emotional system, giving you physiological indicators. But, everybody's had the thing where, that person just walked in the room and I don't know what it is, but there was just something about them that was off, And, some people are kind of petty, judgmental people, but most of the times people don't want to dislike people. So if they're rubbed the wrong way by some kind of energy, a lot of times they'll just kind of explain it away then because they're trying to be polite and nice, And I've learned to just politely disengage and go ahead and honor my inner guidance systems that's telling me there's something in this energy field that is not for me. Without judging the person, is good, bad, or whatever, just saying, I'm not resonating with this. I need to take it out of my field, and I'll do that by removing myself. So that person doesn't need to do anything. I'm responsible for me. I'm going to get the hell on.
But you know what? The opposite of that is true as well, because y'all know that you have met certain people or a certain person has walked in the room and you're like, oh my God, who is that?
I know him.
That and you just be like, I have to meet this person. I have to talk to this person. And for me, that's huge. Because if I get Spirit doesn't play with me. If I am drawn to somebody like that, there's no question that I will go up to that person and I will say, I'm supposed to meet you. My name's Kelly. How are you?
Well, that was how I know when our connection came through. Timing just was really off, but it was there in the periphery, there's a trajectory to cross paths with this person, and then when we did, I think we wound up talking for 3 hours straight, and it was an amazing connection. And so, again, that divine nudge that lets you know everybody is your teacher. Now, some people teach you lessons you'd rather not learn, but the positive ones that are, uplifting, when you hear a person and you hear their story or sense their energy and you spark creativity and value, that is just such a wonderful thing. And that's the most things that I like about kind of coming into my own intuitive abilities and awareness is that I can make much more meaningful connections a lot more easily nowadays rather than stumbling around in the dark, you know. It's like being wide awake and seeing everything.
Well, okay, I'm going to tell a story on you. So let me share with you guys. So Joelle and I, we got together for lunch, and we talked for like 3 hours. Partway through, she's like, "You don't have anywhere else to be, do you?" I'm like, "Nope, I sure don't." So we get through this meeting, and I think we both left feeling really encouraged and excited about our new connection. And then she texted me later, and she said, "By the way, this is the card that I drew before our meeting. This is the angel card that I drew." And I was like, "Oh, okay, so you were sizing me up before we even met. Okay, all right, I see you." And it was a great card. It was a great card, by the way.
It was. It said, what, creative project, I think. So, I check in with my guidance to see. I'm clairaudient, but I'm not as strong as I believe that I will be eventually. So, for me, oracle cards are a wonderful way to tune in very directly and receive in unambiguous messages. So when it's something big, I definitely tune in,
So how does your clairaudience manifest?
It started with me hearing songs, and I'm a musician by training, and throughout my life, I've been a church musician, things of that nature. But this was different. I started giggling as if someone was telling me a joke, and it wasn't a joke that originated with me. And I was like, well, this is kind of funny, having this little songs every now and then pop in. And so over a period of time, and I was getting psychic readings, of course, from other people, and they kept telling me, you're, clairaudient. And I was sitting across a reader one time, and she was saying, well, your grandfather's here, and he's trying to tell you something. And she said, listen. He's telling me, listen. And at that moment, I heard a song, clear as day, come into my head. And I was like, oh, snap. I just heard an actual confirmed clairaudient moment with my grandfather, and I was totally then, it shifted how I felt about it. So now I hear conversation or instruction that's verbal, and I hear a lot of musical kind of accompaniment to my life, and it's usually a message in it, or a joke or a funny and things of that nature. So that's how my clairaudience happens.
So are you hearing it literally with your ears, or is it kind of like me where you're hearing inside?
Yes, in my inner ear. It's not an actual audible sound, but it's like when you get those songs in your head that you can't get out when you're at the grocery store, and you're like, dang, I wish I had not heard that song. I can't get it out of my head, and you find yourself humming it. It's that inner soundtrack. And I do get tones.
I have never thought of that as being clairaudient either. I get that all the time. My guides give me a song for every damn thing. I get song lyrics for everything. Right now, Everything is Everything, Lauryn Hill. You know what I mean? So, they're all right. Yeah. I hear y'all.
Yeah. That's the beautiful. Again, we just aren't recognizing it for what it is, because we'll try to, I call it logicalize. I know that's not a word, but we try to explain away, oh, that's just me humming. But it was very clear when I was cracking myself up, and it wasn't me cracking myself up thinking, oh, that was a good one, Joelle. It was me, literally busting out laughing, oh, that was funny. Somebody got jokes,
Yeah.
And, of course, it was my granddad, and he is a joking kind of guy, and my other guides as well, he tends to sing more churchy songs to me, but my other guys use regular music to convey messages too. So I do have a caller that's indicated they want to come on to ask a question. Let me check in real quick. This is caller area code 908. Did you have a question for Kelly, or were you calling for a reading?
I was actually calling for a reading. I want to know, why do I keep meeting all these emotionally unavailable people? I feel like I'm emotionally unavailable myself, but I feel like I am, but then I'm not, because I feel like I didn't have my father there. Like, I just got, on Father's Day, I just went to go see my father after 6 years, and it's just like, he's still emotionally unavailable. I don't know. I just feel like I keep meeting these people that's just like, that keep wasting my time.
Well, let me do this.
Until you heal your relationship with your father and heal that part of you that feels like a victim to your father being unavailable, you will keep attracting that.
But this is the crazy thing. Like, I'm past it. Like, I feel like this. I feel like things happen, and it's, what are you going to do? Are you going to stand there and stagnate and not move forward, or keep going back to that? Because I feel like I give, and I feel like I love extremely hard, but I feel like I don't get that in return. You know what I mean?
That's a worthiness issue. If you are giving and not receiving what you're giving in return, chances are you are giving from a place of deficit. And when we try to give from a cup that is empty, we go deeper and deeper into deficit. So we have to eventually hop off that cycle and try something different.
Yeah, I stopped. I just have a question. Do you foresee me in a relationship anytime soon?
Well, let me pause you right here, because we are in the talk portion of the show, and so the reading part happens in about another 20 minutes or so. So okay. I will come back to you, but I do have another caller who is in the queue for questions before you. So what is your name? I'm sorry. Kim, thank you. So I'll have you back in the queue, and we'll come back to that during that segment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So that kind of call would be an example of what an intuitive coaching session really looks like then, rather than a quote-unquote reading, because here is a situation or circumstance that's about developing yourself and maybe working out who you are and how you want to be when you're not attracting back to yourself what you believe you should. So that's the kind of thing that
I'm going to go ahead and answer her question. No, I do not see her being in a relationship anytime soon, because she has a lot more self-work to do. And that's the short answer.
Well, I will, Kim, bring you back on to rebut and to continue your question when we get to that segment. So thank you so much, because I don't want to continue without everybody being on the line, So this is the Psychic Inside Show. Our number is 646-668-8988. We do have several people listening online to the show, as well as people listening on the phone this evening. Thank you so much for being with us, and I would definitely like to invite you to the Vibrarian page on Facebook. That's VIBERARIAN, and you can see the upcoming broadcast schedule and things like that. Now, Kelly Lynn Prime also has a Facebook page and community and ways for people to reach out. Would you share that with us, please?
Yes, you can find me everywhere at Kelly Lynn Prime, KELLYLYNNPRIME, and I am also, my umbrella of my services that I do falls under Fitness for the Soul.
Fitness for the Soul.
Fitness for the Soul. Because for me, we're talking all this energy and whatnot. I am about more than just energy. I am about your physical health and wellness as well. So if we are taking care of our energy body, we have to also take care of our physical body because they are connected. Everything is energy. So when we're working with the etheric, we are also working in the physical, whether you believe it or not. And here's the cool thing about your body. Your body does not have the ability to lie the way that your mind will. Our mind and our ego will convince us of all kinds of shit that is not true. Mm-hmm. However, if you have a pain in your big toe, there is a reason connected to why you have a pain in your big toe emotionally.
Right.
So we can't discount what's going on in the physical body and think that our mind and our mind is so complex. Our ego wants to be right about everything, and there's just some things that our mind is telling us that are just, they're blatant lies. They're not true.
Right, belief systems, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Or BS, as they sometimes say.
Now, I also want to clarify to the callers, I am a dream interpreter. That is a tool that I use to help guide you with what spirit is communicating with you in your dreams. So if you're on the line, I need you to have a dream for me to interpret.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, every psychic is different, and everyone has different ways that they express it. So we do try to respect the guests who call in, and if, that kind of question answer, sometimes we've had callers to have to go into the side room to get a kind of preliminary where the psychic reader can really connect with them and then bring the reading out rather than the rapid fire kind of question type situation.
Yeah, the rapid fire questions, that's not really my style.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. I do want to come back real quickly because you touched on something that you and I both have had experience with, but you said the word ayahuasca, which is something that a lot of people may not have heard before. So would you just describe what you have learned that to be and what your experience was with that?
So ayahuasca is a plant medicine from the Amazon in South America. And it has been around for thousands and thousands of years. And it is a couple of different plants from the jungle that are mixed together. And when they are mixed together, they form it's a medicine. It's a medicine for healing that gives the participant a psychedelic experience. So what it does is it activates, you may have heard of DMT. DMT is something that naturally occurs in our brain, in the pineal gland. So what the medicine does is it activates our DMT in our body and opens the pineal gland and gives you a psychedelic spiritual journey. So it's spiritual journeying. It's led by shamans, and it is a way to heal things from physical, mental, emotional, it really brings you to a place of seeing who you really are. And seeing who you really are is sometimes seeing the parts of yourself that you don't like or that you might be afraid of. But it's a moment to, when you come face to face with your darkness or your demons, it's a moment to surrender and realize that anything that comes up in that experience is a part of who you are.
And
is that a great explanation, or is that
that is a good explanation. I mean, that kind of encompassed everything on my personal thought list about it. Did you do this in the jungle somewhere, or were you here in the States?
I have had all of my experiences here in Atlanta. However, there are people who go to the jungle and partake in this process.
And this isn't the only kind of medicine. You know, the medicine path has many. You know, ayahuasca is one. It's known by different names depending on where it's being brewed in South America, Brazil, the places where the plants grow. But there's also sapo, which is from the frogs, various frogs at various levels. And then I think, peyote would be considered as well in that. And this is not like your kind
San
of...
Pedro is another?
Yes. And this is not like you're dropping acid, you know what I mean? But it's plants that have this psychotropic effect of opening and putting more of this DMT. And everything has DMT in it. It's not in every substance. It's just the amount. And I've seen, I think Joe Rogan has a wonderful documentary out there on Netflix that you can see for free, or on YouTube, because he's a big advocate of it. But, it opens up the portions of the brain that we normally would call dormant. I don't like to use that word because I think we're using it. We're just not understanding how it's being used. And in my experience, it all kind of made sense when I was on the medicine journey. All of the kind of things that you wonder about, I understood them in the grand sense of things after going through this journey, and I brought pieces of that back with me, back down to my earthly self, and it kind of shifted me then going forward from that. And they say it's really helpful for people who are dealing with addictions, like serious drug addictions. The medicine is been, now they're studying it scientifically, because there are wonderful outcomes for people where they are able to cold turkey address their issues of addiction in the medicine episode, if you will, and come out and just walk away from it, do some kind of major miraculous healing work on themselves.
It's healing those parts of yourself. We have lots of different parts. One thing that I do want to say, this is not a recreational drug. This is not like smoking marijuana.
No.
This is something that you're not ordering off the internet. This is something that you do with a trained professional, a shaman who has experience in guiding people on these spiritual journees.
And you said
It is also a purgative medicine. So most people throw up, or it can come out the other end. But there are many ways of purging. Yawning is purging. Laughing is purging. Crying is purging. Burping is purging. getting up and moving is a way of purging. So there's all of this release and letting go and surrendering that happens in the process.
Now, you said that when you came back from your journeys that you felt that your psychic ability went up a notch or expanded your range or what you understood about yourself. How did that work for you?
So in 2015, the shamans who I have who have been my guides on all of my journeys, they are a couple from Canada. And they reached out to me and they said, hey, we want to come to Atlanta. We want to spend from the end of October through the new year in Atlanta doing ceremonies. Can we stay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Of course I said yes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In the process, I did the medicine 6 times in that span of time. So I got a lot happened in those ceremonies. 2 years later, I feel like there are parts of those journeys that are just now becoming manifest and like being integrated. You get so much information, and it takes time for our physical body to catch up to that energy. It's a lot of energy. A lot of energy. So what happened for me after those ceremonies in 2015, that's when the animals started awakening. Everywhere I go. And, you know, it was happening before. I just wasn't aware of it. I was not being aware of it. Everywhere I would go, every place I would look, I would see an animal. I would hear an animal. They're just everywhere. The animals are always talking to me. When I do energy healing sessions, I will, in my mind's eye, I'll see different animals. And I always ask clients, I'm like, what does the giraffe mean to you? Because the giraffe showed up today. Or
that's kind of a very shaman, you know, the shaman path seems to incorporate a lot of animal guidance in that realm, more than any other kind of modality that I hear people talk about.
Yep.
And you said you're also connected very much with nature, like sprites and the woodland creatures and that kind of energy as well.
I wish I had $10 for every time someone said, "Oh, you look like a little fairy." I'm like, yes, I do. I am a fairy. Don't you know?
That's awesome. Well, we are getting to the last segment of the show, so I do have the callers that are on the hold from before, so we'll bring them back on and see if we can provide some kind of reading services. Thank you for outlining how it works.
Let me grab. I typically use something to. I usually write stuff down, especially with dreams. That's how I start putting the pieces together, by writing it down. Let me grab a pen.
While you're doing that, I wanted to share with our listeners that every Thursday is the Vibrarian Show, and that's a topical show. We spend about an hour and 15 minutes sometimes every week talking about all kinds of subjects. We've covered astral travel, the moon and energies, lucid dreams, dream symbols and interpretation, and we're going to have episodes coming up in the next few weeks on Akashic Records, past life regression, natural phenomena such as Bigfoot and the mysterious, and then I believe we're going to have alien abductions and things of that nature on there as well. So it's the same phone number, the same channel. It's just on Thursday nights that we just kind of talk about whatever I think is fascinating and interesting. I love it because it's almost like being on X-Files versus a cross with Indiana Jones and the quest for the hidden information, you know. So I'd love for you all to join me on Thursday evenings. And then every Tuesday we've got the Psychic Inside Show where people like Lynn Prime and other amazing, everyday amazing people, they're normal yet they're extraordinary, come on to share their stories about their psychic life. So are you prepared, Kelly?
I am.
Okay, so I'm going to bring in our caller from the Skype line.
Hi.
Thank you so much for holding and listening in this evening, and bringing you back on. I'm sorry I didn't ask your name before.
Oh, that's fine. My name is Trish.
Trish, thank you so much. So I'll leave you and Kelly to your conversation.
Okay. So, Kelly, do you want the question or the dream first?
I want the dream.
Okay. So I had a dream where my deceased parents were in my house renovating my kitchen with cabinetry and granite that I absolutely hated. And I, kind of woke up thinking, why are you here and why would you do this without telling me? Why would you do this without my knowledge? And the irony is that I'm actually in the process of picking granite and cabinets for a house, but obviously not with my parents.
How often do you dream?
Probably twice a week.
Do you remember them?
No, not always, but I remembered this one because I was so mad.
Were you present in the dream, or were you observing this?
No, I was present.
How long have your parents been deceased?
Both of them over 25 years.
So the kitchen is like, the kitchen is the heart of the home. So when you're dealing with the kitchen, you're dealing with emotional matters of the heart, emotional, maybe even emotional baggage, we could say. Would you say that before your parents crossed over that you had healed your relationship with them?
Interesting. One passed quickly, and the other one passed from a terminal illness. So, so it's hard to say. I didn't have any issues with them, but they passed fairly young by today's standards. So I didn't have a long relationship with them.
So, is there a part of you that feels resentful that your parents weren't around longer in your life?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, well, that's what I would say that dream represents, is that your parents are aware that there's an emotional resentment toward them, and that even though they're not here in the body, you can still communicate with them, like through meditation, or they may even come back through in a dream, and you have the power in your dreams to facilitate that healing. And you know, they probably give me 1 second.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Did either of your parents like to cook, or were they
my mother
were
did.
either of them okay? With them showing up in the kitchen and your mother being the cook, it feels like your mother is kind of leading that interaction and encouraging you to release any resentment or anger. You said you woke up angry, yeah?
Yeah, well, that's what woke me up, was like, what is going on here?
Okay. Well, I encourage you to sit down and either journal or meditate, and just have a conversation and let your parents know that you forget them, and that you know that they did the best that they could do.
Okay. Thank you.
You are so welcome.
All right.
Thank
Thanks a
you
lot.
so much for calling and listening this evening.
All right. Thanks again.
Okay.
Awesome.
Interesting. It's quite interesting when we I appreciate when our callers are willing to express themselves on the air, and I thank all of you who are, going into public space with your questions. And the spiritual realm is very, very intimate, so I don't take it lightly when callers call in and are willing to kind of go there to that realm during these shows.
Well,
so
and the thing with dreams is, when we look at a dream like she described, it's easy for us to be like, oh, I was mad at my parents because they picked some shit I didn't like. But we have to look deeper, because our dreams are, it's like speaking a different language. It's not so literal as everything is, here on the earth plane. When we're in the astral plane, it's like we're in a different dimension, and there's just a different way of being and communicating.
Well, I think your advice to journal, that is so, I talk about that all the time. I know I've mentioned on previous shows.
I know, we talked about that on Tuesday.
Last week, yeah, but like practicing something, like understanding the language that's being used, maybe kitchen cabinets is your symbol for a specific kind of thing. And once you figure out what that thing is, then you'll be like, oh, I had that kitchen cabinet dream last night again. This is getting ready to happen, or I must be not aware that I'm feeling like this, or there's that giraffe again. One of mine is tornadoes.
Yeah.
I know when I get tornadoes that I've got a lot of external change happening around me that I'm feeling more uncertain about than what I'm superficially representing. So it's kind of like a little, hey, you're not being honest with yourself. You just spent all evening running like Dorothy and Toto. You know, you might be feeling a little more out of control than what you're admitting to yourself. And so journaling is definitely an excellent way.
Really and truly, we scratched the surface of that dream. You know, we could have gone into a lot more detail. You know, was it daytime? Was it nighttime? Was the kitchen cluttered? Was it open? Mm-hmm, Another thing with the kitchen, what do we do in the kitchen?
We cook
in the kitchen. And what is cooking? It's creating, right?
Mhm.
So, you know, the kitchen is also about whether you are reaching your full potential or not. So,
we are going to circle back around to our caller from earlier this evening. I believe that you said your name is Kim. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct.
Thank you so much for holding.
I do have a dream.
Okay.
The other night, I was laying in my bed. I had insomnia. I had a dream that I'm laying in the bed, and I couldn't make out the face. I couldn't tell if it was my stepfather or my ex, and I felt like they were coming to attack me. And on the bed, I had the remote and I had the phone, and in my mind, I'm sitting there listening to them trying to come towards me, and I'm thinking, what am I going to pick up to smash over their head? And that was the dream.
Okay, so say that again.
Okay.
I'm not following what was dream and what was really happening.
Okay.
So this was all in your dream. You were
asleep.
Okay, so
completely asleep. I was laying on the bed and asleep. I had a dream that my stepfather, it was either my stepfather or my ex, and they were talking shit to me from excuse my language, from the door, my doorway, my bedroom door, because my bedroom door was open. And I'm hearing them, but I'm laying in the bed. I'm laying in the bed, and I have the remote and the phone, and I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to use to hit them? With, and then I wake up out the dream.
So was it your bedroom?
Mhm.
In the dream?
Mhm.
Was it your bedroom like it is right now, or like maybe your bedroom from a different home, or?
No, it's the home that I'm in now. It's exactly how I am now at home. And mind you, I'm in a house completely alone by myself. There's nobody in this house.
Okay, so the fact that it was in the bedroom has to do with relationships. It has to do with intimacy. And what you were saying before, you were asking about relationships. I feel like this is so wait, in the dream you had insomnia?
No, I had insomnia that day, and then I went down and went to sleep. And when I went down and went to sleep, and I'm dreaming all these things. See, the thing is, I had an abusive ex. My stepfather was abusive, and my ex was abusive. And recently, I just had to get a restraining order from my ex to get him away from me, and he would literally wake me up out my sleep like we were sleeping in two rooms. He was sleeping in the living room, I was sleeping in the bedroom, and he would literally wake me up out my sleep to start arguing with me. And I used to keep a 5-pound weight on the bed with me, so if he came in the room and he tried to do anything, I could bust him upside his head.
Well, the fact that these two men that you did not have healthy and empowering relationships with you are coming into your intimate space and you are, hold on one second. So what I'm seeing is I'm seeing fire around you, and to me that is implying that there's some anger that perhaps would be healthy for you to get under control. And you asked before about a relationship. I do not see you entering into a relationship anytime soon because there are some of these issues that are coming up. The anger, healing from past hurts and relationships. Those are some precursors to you being able to have a healthy relationship. The fact that these two men showed up in your bedroom is signifying to me that there's still work to do.
I don't doubt that there's work to do because I've thought about going to get a therapist because I feel like there's work to do because I feel like I'm angry in the sense of I feel like, I'm being taken for granted because I feel like I give and give and give, but I've reached what you just said earlier where the bowl is cut off. I can't give from something that's empty.
You can't give from an empty cup. Yeah, absolutely.
You can't give from an empty cup, and then I'm just also, from my understanding, just paying attention more to people and watching the tendencies of the things that they do, so I'm catching a whole lot of foolishness early. But it's just, I have an anger and a rage about me that, like I recently just lost a job behind this because it's like I get tired of foolishness, and it just elevates me. Like, when I tell you I'm such a work in progress, me and my sister, we got into a tiff yesterday, and she said something mean to me, but on everything I love, I try. I said, don't even go down that path, but it's me controlling that and working on that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're working at it. And if you feel like finding a therapist or a coach would help you, I totally encourage you to do that. That's a very healthy way to deal with anger and working through issues from the past.
I just feel like I have self-esteem issues. Like, I know I'm a beautiful person, a beautiful woman, but it's just, I don't feel like because I didn't get that love from my father that I put up with nonsense that I don't have to. I'm learning that I don't go on the clearance rack.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't go on the clearance rack. You got to pay full price plus tax.
That's right. I love that.
That's
I might use that. I'm sorry. I might have to borrow that one.
All right. I'm like, dang. That's great, Kim.
Everyone is your teacher. Thank you.
Yes. You know, our relationship with our Father is our very first relationship
Absolutely.
with any type of man. And the way that original relationship with our Father goes, it puts an imprint on us for how, well, first of all, for the type of man that we will attract, and two, the healing that we have to do, that we will need to do in order to become whole in our relationship with men. And some people are blessed to have really wonderful relationships with their father. However, just because you didn't have a great relationship with your father, that doesn't mean that you are any less than someone who has a wonderful relationship. It just means that you incarnated here on this planet to heal something related to your relationship with men.
It's just I'm frustrated. I feel like my biggest frustration is feeling like, when is it ever going to be my time? Like, I feel like, everybody's enjoying their life, and I have sisters, they have their own kids, they have their own life, but I just feel like, when is it going to be my time?
Whenever you decide it's your time, Kim. When you decide, that's when it's your time.
It's frustrating because I feel like I'm getting older.
I understand. Now, don't you start that I'm old thing. You are as young as you feel.
And I understand that. It's just a frustration of feeling like a failure. Like, I feel like because I didn't have my father, like, I'm going through those hurts now, because at the end of the day, I haven't spoken to my father for 6 years, and all I could do was pray on it, and I was led to go over there, and just when he see me in that instant, and he was to tears. I wanted to go see him on Father's Day. He has not done right by me 39 years, and I wanted to go see him. When I tell you, when I went to go see him, he couldn't believe I was there. But it's just like, I just want it to be my time. I don't want to be angry anymore, and I don't want to feel like I'm picking up trash. Because my girlfriend's mom told me something. She gave me this quote. She says, when you're done with a person, right, be done with them. That's just like if you have something in the house and it's trash, and when you take the trash out, do you bring the trash back in? Man, when I tell you, when she said that, that just opened up my eyes. But I'm just tired of the trash, because I feel like I keep meeting trash.
So here's what I want you to do, Kim. I want you to do you use social media?
Mhm. I'll follow you on Facebook.
You do?
I listen now. Ever since last week, I've been listening. So I called last week, and then I'm listening. So I go check the page and find out when y'all going to be on.
I want you to send me a message. I want you to make sure that you send me a friend request, and I want you to send me a message. I have a very, very close friend of mine who does what is she calling it? It's called Finding Our Fathers, and it's about healing our relationships with our fathers. So I want you to send me a message, and I'm going to connect you with her.
Okay.
I remember you told me about that.
And Joelle is telling me that we have a couple of other callers, so I need to let you go, but make sure that you connect with me, and I'll
Facebook now.
Connect with her. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you
so
much
welcome.
for calling.
Thank you.
Yes, I forgot you mentioned that Finding Our Fathers program. That's really, I love when threads of things connect. I was scanning through my brain thinking of resources, and that's wonderful. You had spoke with me at our luncheon about that kind of deep healing that needs to occur in that area.
Yes. Yes, and Monique has an amazing story. For those of you who are listening, my friend, and she's actually a business partner of mine as well, we have a program called Mercury Retrograde Reset, so you can look that up as well. She started this program a couple of years ago, and it has been something that she has done once a year for the last few years, and it's been amazing. It's really been amazing. Monique Ruffin.
I just
Monique
love
Ruffin
this.
is her name.
Monique Ruffin. Thank you. I just love doing the show.
MoniqueRuffin. Monique Ruffin. Connect with us.
I just love doing the show because we are talking with people every week, and, you know, we get such an interesting from around the country. And at the end of the day, I feel like there's a learning that happens, an exchange that happens, and I certainly am enlarged by just having these conversations and listening in. So I appreciate you talking with us this evening, Kim. Now, I do have another caller to bring on here real quick. We're getting to the last few minutes of the show. This is caller with the area code 646. This is Joelle, and who am I speaking with?
I'm speaking with Lisa. How are you today?
Hello, how are you? You're on the phone at the Lynn Prime. You have a question about a dream?
Yes. Okay, so
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
You are?
I'm having a hard time hearing you as well.
Okay. Are you able to hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, yes, I have had a dream about eggs, believe it or not. And I would like to know what the dream about eggs. Eggs?
Eggs.
Yes.
Eggs.
Egg yolks. So I just wanted to see if you know what that means.
Well, immediately when you said eggs, I think of fertility. I think of something going through a gestation period. The fact that you're talking about the yolks, to me, that's like the yolk is like the nourishment for the embryo. So when the egg is actually fertilized, that's the it's like the liquid gold. You know what I mean? It's like the nourishment for whatever you're gestating. Are you working on a project? Are you working on something?
I'm working on a writing project that I have to put together. It's like I just have notes everywhere, but I just have to sit down and just put everything in one. It's like a puzzle right now. I know exactly what I want, but it's just that with work, and I just don't have enough time to sit down and write. That's the only thing.
You're gonna have to make time if you're gonna write a book. You're gonna have to figure out a way to balance the things that you have going on in your life, so that you create that time. And if it's something that's really important to you, you will find that time, even if it's like 5 or 10 minutes a day. Just do something. And that's something. You know, I was an English teacher, and I would have students who, you know, they had these projects that we're doing. They come to me for a check-in, and I'd be like, well, what do you have done? Well, I haven't done anything. I'm like, you have to start.
Okay.
Right, and I would make them start right there when they were sitting with me. Okay, I need you to write down all of your thoughts right now. Well, I don't know. No, you have to write. You have to get started.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to actually get started as soon as I hang up with you tonight.
Yeah,
I'm getting started now. Yes. I need the motivation. Yes.
Listen, something is waiting to be birthed.
All right.
The eggs represent something being birthed. something that is in gestation.
Okay. Well, I'm getting started right now. I have a notebook right beside me. That's been sitting on my nightstand for the last week and a half, but I'm making time right now to get started.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for the push.
Are you on social media?
Yes, I am.
Okay, make sure you connect with me on social media.
Okay, I will, definitely.
On Facebook. Are you on Facebook? That's the best way to get at me. Okay, so send me a friend request.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Lisa.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
That is wonderful. You know, and I want to also pass on to the caller, if she's able to hear, back on the line. One of our future guests on the show is an author and clairvoyant psychic by the name of Burnett Sherman. And Burnett has written a book, a short manual on that's something like 4 weeks to first draft. And it's kind of a writing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right? So if the caller reaches out to you on Facebook and you connect with her, if you could redirect her so I can send her a link to that. And caller, if you're still listening, if you would be connecting with me on Facebook, I'll definitely send you that book as well, because it just stuck in my mind because it's a quick manual. So we're here in our last few minutes, so I do have a caller 402. I will try to bring on the line. My switchboard is acting a little funny right now. Caller 402, are you on the line? I seem to be frozen, Kelly. So we are in the last 3 minutes of the show at this point, so we'll go ahead and wind things up. This has been the Psychic Inside Show. Do you have any last-minute words or imparting wisdom for people that you want to leave them with as we close down this evening?
Just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and work on the most important relationship that you have is the one that you have with yourself. And I feel like we are led to believe that we have to have, and relationships with other people are important, but it's not more important than the relationship that you have with yourself. So take care of yourself. And it's absolutely okay to not have all of the answers yourself. There's so many people out here in so many ways to get healing and to get connected with people who can help you along your path. And I may not be that person for you, and that's okay. Find someone who you resonate with. Find someone who, like Finding Our Fathers. Kim is a perfect person for that program. I absolutely, I want to guide people to where they can get the help that they need. So, work on your relationship with yourself. It's the most important relationship you have.
That is the darn truth. If we don't have a relationship with ourselves that's healthy, we darn sure can't have a relationship with anybody else that's healthy, family included, Well, Lynn Prime, I am so grateful that you spent your Tuesday evening with me talking about your life and your experiences, and I know that we only skimmed the surface of your many adventures. So I expect that we will be hearing more from you on other shows. I do plan to have a show episode about the medicine path, and I know that you'll be back to share more about your sixth journey.
Oh, yes.
And I do believe we have some creative projects, as the guys nudged before we met, that will be coming out. And anyone who came out to the Vibrate Elevation Station once a month, we have these events that pop up right now. We're down in East Point, and the south side of town. And this happens on Sunday, third Sunday of the month. The location will vary, so you should definitely follow my Facebook page. But you can pop in and get lifted with the Good Vibe Tribe, and it's a group of people, readers, healers, holistic products and services, and vendors. It changes every month with a different kind of mix. And this last Sunday was Kelly Lynn's first sitting with us, and she was doing dream interpretation and crystal readings. It was amazing. Everybody said they had awesome readings with you.
It was great. I really enjoyed myself, and I have to admit, I don't really like psychic fairs, but it was great. I really, really enjoyed myself, and I really enjoyed doing I really like doing the dream interpretation. It's a tool to get into other things that are going on. So it's kind of like a foot in the door.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you this evening. This has been the Psychic Inside Show, and my name is Joelle, and I just thank you again for choosing to spend your time with us on the air. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for another episode where we get to hear about people's journeys into their gifts and abilities. Until then, I wish you all the blessings that you could possibly hold in your arms and in your life. And I just say to you, as I acknowledge your light, namaste.
Namaste. Good night.